Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. We bring you this video segment every single day that helps you recap what all has been happening in the world of sport whilst you were catching up on some rest, because whilst it's true that you may need sleep, I may need sleep, the fact of the matter is the world of sport doesn't ever really stop. There's always something going on, so it's very easy really to miss out on a few important developments. So in this video segment, what we do is we'll pick up on some of those more interesting things and have a little discussion about them Sports Today style. So without further ado, let's just get straight to it. And there's an interesting controversy that really has been doing the rounds recently at regards is Usman Khawaja. Now Usman Khawaja is set to take to the field for Australia's first test match against Pakistan, but what really has been the focus of attention has been his boots, his cricket shoes, which have been sporting some messages of which can be considered pro-Palestine messages. Now, truth be told, there's nothing wrong with him displaying those messages on a personal level. Absolutely nothing wrong. You can totally understand where it is he's coming from, and it's simply stuff like all lives are equal, which is a pretty fair statement when you're looking at it. The problem, however, is that this is in contravention of ICC regulations, which prohibits any form of personal messaging or political messaging on any part of the kit that is displayed in ICC sanctioned international matches. So there was legitimately a chance that if Khawaja had continued to wear these boots and actually take to the field, that he would have actually been asked to either remove them or he could have been barred from taking the field due to being in contravention of ICC regulations. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, what about freedom of speech? To which I say fair, but the point is that when you're representing an organization, you do need to be following their rules, and the rules here are pretty clear cut. No political messaging whatsoever. It's a consistent rule that has been enforced, so it just makes sense to not actually go there if you don't really have to. And in this case, I think it's fair to say that Usman Khawaja himself realized that this could be a bit of trouble, because news has now come in that he'll not in fact be wearing these shoes. Pat Cummins, the skipper of Australia, said very clearly that I know that what Khawaja has written is not really massively controversial in any way, but he doesn't want to cause much of a fuss, so what he's going to do is not wear these boots, which is, I guess, Cummins' way of saying he'll not be wearing them because potentially he could be stopped from wearing them, which makes sense, but of course will fuel the debate which does go around a lot of cases in these cases when it comes to saying what's right or doing what's right, and freedom of speech or following rules and organizations that do exist in this regard. It's definitely a nuanced, complicated issue, but I think in this case Khawaja did the right thing. It's definitely not worth the fuss. May as well just play in plain boots. Switching our focus to a match that we were watching last night, the India-South Africa game, and it was one that India ended up losing pretty comprehensively if you're looking at it whichever way you like. This is a young India team, but the fact of the matter was they were found wanting on the day. Yet that is not something that has worried skipper Suryakumar Yadav, because as he revealed in the post-match presentation, he said, look, the messaging from us is very clear. If as far as the batting concerns, you need to go out there, you need to be expressive, you need to enjoy yourself regardless of the circumstances. And we did see that with the batting. So he's saying that, look, with bowling, obviously conditions became much tougher in the second half, because again, there was rain there, the outfield was wet, the ball became much harder to grip. Saying, but as far as the batting goes, I had no problems with the kind of display we put in, and it's easy to understand why. India lost both openers for ducks, yet they were playing aggressive cricket constantly. Again, Verma, by the way, had one of the lowest strike rates on the night, and it was 145. Sky was hitting it about 150. Rinku Singh was striking it at 170. So there is merit to playing that style. It's better to go all guns blazing and potentially get to 180 than play conservatively and get to about 160-65. That seems to be the messaging. And Sky himself admitted that, look, it's going to be taking some time. It won't be that easy to break out of that mold wherein you're looking to play a certain way only, but it's necessary in this format, and I so happen to completely agree with him. Speaking of this match, Tilak Verma was the person sent to the post-match press conference, and he did reveal why exactly it is that the Indian batters struggled as much as they did in this particular game, the bowlers rather. He said, look, in the second half, once the rain had set in, the outfield was wet. and gripping the ball became next to impossible. So more often than not, the bowlers were struggling to actually get their line and length right. He's saying beyond that, if you ask for the batting was fine. The bowling, it just became a lot tougher, and that is why we struggle. To which I say, you know what, fair enough. Generally speaking, also a team batting second will have the advantage in T20Is, and in this case, they had the added advantage of not only knowing the score, which was a DRS reduced score, but also knowing that, you know, the outfield is going to be wet, there's going to be under lights, there wouldn't be that much going on. It will come onto the bat nicely, and that's exactly how it played out. Sticking to cricket, but moving on to another series. West Indies continue their winning ways over England by winning the first T20I of the series, and it is courtesy of a man who's making a comeback to international cricket after a time period of 2 years, Andre Russell. The man who's nicknamed Dre Russ, Russell Muscle, whatever it is you want to call him, well, he ended up making his comeback by not only taking 3 wickets with the ball, but also smashing 29 runs in his trademark quick-fire fashion to ensure that the West Indies could chase down a pretty decent target of about 171. Now, Russell has spoken about, you know, being eager to make a comeback and potentially wanting to retire after the 2024 T20 World Cup. Don't forget, Russell's already a 2-time world champion with the West Indies. He's won the T20 World Cups in 2012 and 16. But if he can add another at this point in his career where it's pretty clear he's not quite the same player he was 5 years back, but still very destructive, definitely would be something. Speaking of things that were in fact something, Champions League, we're switching our focus to the world of football, and it was a pretty expected yet similarly disappointing result in the game between Manchester United and Bayern Munich. Now, Manchester United needed not only a win, but needed the other 2 teams in their group, which were FC Copenhagen and Galatasaray, to play out a draw. Well, that didn't really matter because that game ended with a definitive result, and United ended up losing 1-0 to Bayern Munich. Definitely not the best of times to be a United fan, because despite the fact that they made their much trumpeted comeback to the Champions League this year, their campaign ends in a whimper. They're 4th in a group that they were expected to finish at least 2nd in. Not even 3rd place, not even going to be playing the Europa League. Definitely not the best of times. And in fact, later on in the day, with my colleague and a United fan himself, Harshad, he and I will be doing a bit of a video encapsulating what exactly has gone wrong at United. It'll be a live discussion, so join us for that later if that's your thing. Sticking to Champions League results, and RC Lens, the French club that actually have defied a lot of expectations, ended up claiming another Giants cap when they defeated Sevilla 2-1. Now, why exactly is this big news? Because it ensures that Sevilla, who by the way always have a reputation of doing well in the Europa League but struggling in the Champions League, this time finished bottom of the group, meaning they don't even qualify for the Europa League. So they can't even qualify for the Champions League again by winning the Europa League, which is something of a specialty for them. Not happening this time around. Sorry, Sevilla fans. More football news, but this time with a bit of an Indian twist. Indian head coach Igor Stimac has named a group of 50 probables for the AFC Asian Cup as far as the, what the number of players or the full pool that he will be selecting is 50 players from. 2 players, by the way, who miss out are the 2 on your screen. There's Anwar Ali and Jackson Singh. Now, both of them are good young players. In fact, Anwar, I would argue, would probably be a starter alongside someone like a Sandesh Jhingan in the heart of defense. But he's picked up an injury at the most inopportune time, and according to what Stimac said in a press conference, is like Anwar will not be fit. The only time he'll start regaining fitness is by the time the AFC Asian Cup actually starts coming to an end. So no point picking him. Jackson also misses out because he too picked up on an inopportune injury and he's not been in any kind of fitness recently. Bit unfortunate because he added a bit of steel in that midfield. But India do have plenty of midfield options. Despite that though, I think these are 2 young players whom many fans would have wanted to see in the team. And we're ending the wrap with, let's say, a bit of news that not exactly paints India in a good light, let's say, but Olympic medalist Nozomi Okuhara, the badminton player, recently opened up on her experiences when she came to India to play in a couple of tournaments that were held in the country. There were badminton tournaments going on, including the Syed Modi Invitational. Okuhara was actually part of 2 tournaments, but she actually ended up having a pretty harrowing bad experience because she ended up not only having to when she arrived at the airport, she had to take a cab that she was trying to book an Uber, didn't happen. She ended up having to take a cab whilst paying more than 10 times what she would normally pay on an Uber fare. but after that also had problems with her visas, with her hotel check-in. She had to wait 4 hours in the lobby, and overall, in her own words, not the best of travel experiences. Despite the fact that she was prepared for something bad, she ended up getting something really worse. Now, it's definitely not ideal, especially when you consider that India is a country that is pretty beautiful, does rely on tourism, that you have a foreign player of repute saying that the travel experience wasn't very good, and raises a lot of questions on how it is that India organizes such tournaments. Not a good look, especially when you consider that the sport right now in India really is lacking in a lot of glory. You have a Satwik Sairaj, Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty who are regularly winning stuff, but beyond that, not so much. Not the kind of headlines you wanted, but unfortunately, that was the reality that Okuhara faced when she was in India. It wasn't a pleasant experience. In fact, she said, were it not for the likes of PV Sindhu and Kidambi Shrikant helping her out with the travel, she'd have not probably been able to even make it to the tournaments. And that's it from us on this edition of the Morning Wrap with Sports Today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Please don't forget, if you enjoy our work, to like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget to download the AajTak app. And if you're already on the channel, well, then go right ahead, check out some other videos we've done yesterday, and stay tuned. We've got plenty more coming your way. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.